Now in this lecture we will study code of ethics. Okay, we have just studied that in case of profession the three characteristics are advanced skill, standards of conduct and public service delivery. So the second one, that is standards of conduct, we have studied that they are being set by the internal regulatory body. So in case of engineering profession, now we are talking about engineering profession. So in case of engineering profession, there are some codes of conducts, and in this lecture I am taking codes of conduct which have been developed by NSPE. Okay, so these codes of conduct are nothing but called as codes of ethics, and they have been developed by NSPE, which is National Society of Professional Engineers. Okay, this is an American body, but its codes of ethics are taken as a general reference throughout the world. Okay, hence we are studying this codes of ethics. Okay, so mind that this is Society of Professional Engineers. So now we are in the domain of engineering profession. Okay, so first of all, what its preamble says. So this preamble is very important because using that preamble only we can answer several type of questions. Okay, so the preamble is saying engineering is an important and learned profession. Okay, we have already understood advanced skills are required, therefore it is a learned profession. And why important? Because the whole society is dependent on engineering. Okay, without engineering you cannot have development in society. Okay, now next statement, as members of this profession, engineers are expected to exhibit the highest standards of honesty and integrity. Highest standards of honesty and integrity. Now if you recall, we have learned in the values chapter that there are 5 foundational values of any profession or civil servant, and one of them was integrity. Okay, so this is the same thing. So what you have learned, that it is an important and learned profession, and engineers are required to exhibit highest standards of honesty and integrity. Further, engineering has a direct and vital impact on the quality of life of all people. Obviously this is, we can interpret from this important word, because profession involves in providing services. So when the quality of services is good, obviously the quality of life of people or society will be good. Okay, so accordingly the services provided by engineers require honesty, impartiality, fairness and equity. Honesty, impartiality, fairness and equity, and must be dedicated to the protection of public health, safety and welfare. Public health, safety and welfare. Now this is a long statement, but we can divide into various parts. Accordingly the services provided by engineers require. Now these 4 terms, honesty, impartiality, fairness and equity and dedication, these 4 are nothing but the values that we have already studied. Honesty implies integrity, impartiality was also foundational value, fairness and equity. Now fairness and equity, we can relate it with nothing but the term objectivity. Okay, you must be fair, you must be objective in your profession. Okay, and the next one is, and must be dedicated. So dedication was also an important foundational values. So integrity, impartiality, objectivity, dedication, we can relate it with the foundational values. Okay, And further, what statement is further saying? To the protection of public health, safety and welfare. So as an engineering profession, we must focus on the public health, public safety and public welfare. Okay. Now, the next statement of preamble is engineers must perform under a standard of professional behavior. Under a standard of professional behavior. So from this statement, now preamble is asking engineers to follow the standards of behavior which are given below. Okay, standards of professional behavior. So clearly observe that standards of professional behavior simply implies the standards of conduct, that is code of conduct or code of ethics. Okay, so under standard of professional behavior, that requires adherence to the highest principles of ethical conduct. Highest principles of ethical conduct. So here what is happening? The professional body itself is developing, prescribing some principles of ethical conduct, and it becomes mandatory for all the professionals to follow that principles. So they must become their behavior. Okay, so if you follow the standard conduct, then that will become your behavior. So this is what preamble says. Now we will study what are the fundamental principles or codes of behavior. Okay, so this is called as fundamental canons by NSP document. Okay, so what are those? Engineers in the fulfillment of their professional duties shall implies that it has been become mandatory. They must follow these principles. So here understand fundamental canons, instead of word canon I can simply use the word principles. These are the fundamental principles. So the first one is hold paramount the safety, health and welfare of public. This was already included in the preamble. Observe that public health, safety and welfare was already included. So it is just repetition of that. Hold paramount the safety, health and welfare. So if you are in your engineering profession, then your decisions, your actions must give priority to the safety of public, the health of public and welfare of public. Okay, so whether you are in a nuclear power plant, whether you are designing a stormwater drain, whether you are designing or constructing a bridge, or whether you are a manager in some production house, then it implies that is you are in some factory which is producing some object. In all these cases, in all these examples, you must hold the safety, health and welfare of public as paramount. Okay, now the second code of canon, code of ethics is perform services only in areas of their competence. This is a very obvious thing. Since professional, the main characteristic of professional is advanced skill. So you must acquire some advanced skill, only then you become eligible for any profession. Now in any profession itself, there are various fields or areas, and therefore you must work in that field in which you are competent. Okay, but unfortunately we find so many professionals who do not have that much competency, but still they are working in that profession. Okay, so they must perform service only in area of their competence. The next one is issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner. Okay, so if you want to issue some public statement, then it must be objective and it must be truthful. And observe that nothing, this objectiveness and truthfulness, they are nothing but the values, okay, that we have already studied. So you must issue public statement only in objective and truthful manner. Very simple. Then fourth one is act for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees. This is also very important. We should understand this clearly, that the professionals shall act for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees. what it implies, let's say take an example. If you are working in an organization, then you are being employed in that organization. So your actions, your behavior must be towards fulfilling the objective of organization. Okay, you must become a faithful agent of that organization, and you must follow all the rules regulation which are prescribed by that organization. Okay, and secondly, if you are a profession, then there's a possibility that you are not working in an organization, there is no employer, you are a freelancer, you are a sole proprietor who is working for personal clients. Okay, so you could be an architect, and there could be a family who has hired you for architectural services. Now in this case, you must hold the client as your, we should say that you should act as a trustee for your client. It implies that you must not give any false information or false guidance to your client. Many times what happens is that as a profession, to make more money, I give false advice, incorrect advice or partial advice to my clients. So here I as a professional is not following this code of ethics. Okay, so I must be a faithful trustee towards my client. Okay, this is the fourth ethical code of conduct, which is very important. The next one is you must avoid deceptive acts. Now, deception, what it implies, nothing but it is similar to what we have just studied. You must be clear and objective in your behavior, in your guidance to the organization or to the client. You must not be deceptive, implies that you must not be dual in your opinions. Okay, this is what this fifth code of ethics says. And the last one is conduct, that is, the professional must conduct themselves honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully so as to enhance the honor, reputation, and usefulness of the profession. So, sixth code of conduct is a general statement, that is, you must work with honor. Okay, so you must not do some actions or behavior which reduces the importance or honor of the profession. Okay, this is what sixth statement says, which is a very general statement. So these six were the fundamental principles or canons, or we can say simply six fundamental code of ethics which has been prescribed by National Society of Professional Engineers. Okay, so here we have concluded this part, that is code of ethics part. Thank you.